All right, hey, as you can see, I'm working on some window tint and we're going to tint the Chaser. So I've spent some time, a little bit of the time in the garage. You know, if you caught the last video, I was just basically kind of doing a walk around, doing a little bit of reveal of the car. We spent a little bit just cleaning up some of the double side adhesive that was left and dried up and really separating that held the rain guards on. Those were starting to flap and I didn't want to lose them. So peeled it off, got it cleaned up. I think I'm going to roll right now without them and just to kind of leave that, that clean look. I could put them back on in the future if I seem to want to, but I'm going to hang on to them. I know that they're not easy to come by, but nonetheless, so let's get some tint on the car. I want to get ready for the season. I know that the weather is going to start to cooperate. We've had some decent days. We've melted some snow. Then we get cold. We get more snow. It's going back and forth. Eventually, I think it'll start to phase out in the next month or so, and I'll be anxious to get out on the street. So I want to tackle some of the things just initially, just to get this kind of prepped up and ready for me to drive, one of which is going to be tint, and the other which is some parts that I've got on order, some wheels, tires, and coilovers, waiting for those to arrive. We won't get into much detail there. We'll save that for a different video. But in this one, I'm just going to kind of walk around with the camera. We'll do some preparation, get some film on the glass, get some things cut, cleaned, and we'll change the look and get some attitude on the Chaser. Okay, so with the Bounty dryer sheets on the front windshield and the rear glass curing or drying, basically, I'm gonna go ahead and start getting some of the film laid out on the side doors. The reason for the Bounty dryer sheet is it allows the tint to slide while shrinking to fit. So I apply that on the outside. That softening agent that's in that dryer sheet, when that becomes wet, it becomes a slippery solution. You smear that all across the glass. Now I'm letting it dry. Now once it's completely dry, then the tint is gonna wanna glide right over the top of that nice and easy. So when you're applying the heat to shrink, as we'll see momentarily when we get to that step, it will lay out much nicer. But first, let's go ahead while that's drying, get the 4 pieces kind of laid out and rough cut on here on the outside, so we can do a heat shrink on those as well, and then we're ready to install on the inside. Okay, all 4 doors are prepped. Those will be ready to install. But first, I do want to do the rear glass and the windshield. Those need a little bit more dry time. I do like to shrink and install those on the inside, get those in place. Sometimes you just find there's some spots that don't quite want to lay down. While that moisture is still wet, you're gonna fight it. So instead, we'll get this installed, we'll get it, the majority of which in place. We'll do the rear and we'll do the windshield, and then we'll switch, get the 4 doors knocked out, and then come back and touch up anything that might be remaining that didn't quite lay down while the moisture was still in place, giving it a little bit of time to dry, and then come back and hitting it, and should be good to go from that point. The one last thing that we'll do after all that's wrapped up is there is a sunroof. I'm gonna throw 5% on the sunroof in ceramic as well, and that's just gonna make sure that all glass has got a ceramic protection and really deflecting out that heat for the summer months. So let's go ahead and get this shrunk. All right, so it's the next day and I got everything installed that we had prepped minus the sunroof. I didn't get to that. Camera ran out of space. On my phone, I take all the video from my phone. I ran out of space, so I had to do some editing on some of the previous videos that I already had captured, and then delete some of that raw footage so that way I could make room to continue. So I didn't continue on with the sunroof, but here is the look all cleaned up with everything installed so far. So we've got the full windshield in 50%. Still can see the dash lift. I'll have to figure out a way to address that. It's such a common thing that I've seen on the Chasers, but that's for a different topic. But ultimately 50% across the full windshield, top to bottom. Nice, clean, nothing too aggressive, can still see through pretty well. And here's 20% on the sides and rear. Everything installed nicely, got it all to lay down. And now it's just gonna hang out in the garage this week while it all dries up and completely cures. So the goal at this point is just to set up on the last remaining stretch. It's just that 5% piece up here on top of the sunroof. Pretty straightforward. It does need to be pre-shrunk and cut to fit on the outside. Then it will kind of lay right up in place on the inside. Not a terrible install. Don't do them too often, really. I get a request once in a while for somebody to do the sunroof, but ultimately I figured, hey, if I'm gonna do ceramic everywhere else, let's go ahead and pop it on there just to say that it's all covered and blocking all the heat. And yeah, why not? So I'll set it up, let's get it going. All right, about 25 minutes altogether. Here's from the outside. Doesn't really look too much different, honestly, than what you would expect. Typically you're not looking in from the sunroof anyway. Got my fancy stools there, they work amazing. Love them, especially when working on windshield stuff. But as we climb on the inside then, here's kind of a quick glimpse of the inside install. So it lays in there really nicely. It's obviously going to be much darker to see. You're just seeing the reflection, honestly, but it needs to dry out. The moisture, a little bit of moisture still in there, of course, and that's going to essentially dry out as it sits in here. We're getting a lot of snow. We got like 6-8 inches already today up here in North Dakota. I've been out shoveling a couple of times, so I didn't take any tint jobs for the week, really kind of postponing, letting all that clear. It's really kind of just a mess with the vehicles in the driveway, getting this in and out, doing as much work as I do in here, and trying to keep the Chaser dry in the winter months. Next winter, I'll definitely try to find a different solution, but for right now, this is kind of the game. But ultimately, at this point, everything's installed. Everything looks good. I'm super happy. I was anxious to get after this, just hadn't done so yet. Unfortunately, you can still see, this is on the inside, not the outside. You don't feel it here, but on the inside. In Japan, in this lower corner, they have some sort of sticker. I don't know if it's like a registration. I don't really know what it was. I don't know if it was like a parking pass of sorts, but it seemed like they had some sort of sticker inside there that I had to take off. Now, once I got that sticker off, realized that it was scratched all to heck on the inside. So whether they had to replace this on a yearly basis or something there, I don't really know the history behind that. But once I got that off, really realized somebody went to town and just scraped the heck out of that corner, trying to remove or replace anything that was there. But that's gonna pretty much, wrap up this video. Appreciate you watching. It is probably gonna be a little on the longer side just because of how much footage and how much time it takes. I've definitely got about 4 or 5 hours altogether just in getting all the way around, getting everything installed, tidying up, and then of course splitting that up over a couple of days, messing with the camera, moving that around, etc. Just trying to give you a little bit of glimpse and a view of the project and the build as it goes on. But boom, first thing really kind of accomplished on the Chaser. I'm gonna let this dry this week. Like I said, wheels and tires and coilovers are on order. I'll reveal those when they arrive. They're supposed to come this week. Wheels and tires for sure. Coilovers are getting custom built, so I don't know that those are within the scope of any time real soon. I don't know. I have to wait for an update on that, but I'll definitely share once that stuff comes in. I'm thinking with all the weather we're supposed to get this week, the wheels and tires are going to be delayed anyway, so nothing really crazy, but I need to get a shop in town to mount those once they arrive anyway. So that'll do it for this one. Thanks again for watching the next video of the Chaser series, and we'll see you in the next one.